Story 1. Surviving it every day involves therapy, letting go of toxic habits and relationships, making time for yourself, and understanding that having bad days doesn't mean all days are bad. Story 2. Get up, go outside, and take a walk in the sunlight. Just look around. When you return home, make sure everything is tidy and stay productive. The worst thing you can do is nothing. Story 3. I don't believe I had clinical or chronic depression, whatever the official term is. I was simply miserable in university. I eventually graduated and moved on, and that made a significant difference. Changing my environment and lifestyle contributed to this improvement. Story 4. I am still feeling depressed. I can't talk to anyone about it because my friends would probably see me as attention-seeking. If I talk to people I don't know well enough, I can't open up, so that means therapists don't help. Teachers will just tell my mom, and she needs to focus on herself and my brother before me. No one really knows what I'm going through, and I can't explain why I haven't ended it. I think the only reason is that I don't want people to be sad when I go, even if not many people will be, and some may say, "Thank goodness he's gone." I don't want them using me as an excuse to act in certain ways. There are also people who need me to live, like a friend who I've been trying to help with drug problems and boyfriend issues. She's improving, and my mom needs me. If I were gone, she'd be in such a state that my brother wouldn't receive her care and support, as she wouldn't be able to take care of herself. I know this may be difficult to share, but it's true, and I don't have a way to cope other than taking it day by day, little by little, and pushing through. Think of it like a ladder. Every time something hits you and makes it worse, you fall down a few steps. But as long as you keep pushing to get back up, nothing will stop you. Even if you fall to the bottom, just keep thinking, "I can do it. And I hope you'll be okay." Story 5. My survival instincts and fear of self-harm made me worry that I would paralyze myself for life or experience a lot of pain. To cope with depression, I watched many YouTube videos and consumed a lot of sugary foods like biscuits and cake. Eventually, I found a job, and my depression improved significantly. Story 6. I had a lot of therapy. Movement desensitization and reprocessing was huge for me, as I had post-traumatic stress disorder, but it's great for general trauma. By the way, after years of hypervigilance, nightmares, and flashbacks, movement desensitization and reprocessing cured it. Story 7. Just keep going. Some days are difficult while others are better. I had to learn to see the good in things and find ways to feel productive. Story 8. I am still trying to survive it. I've been on antidepressants since I was 14, and I am now 28. I currently take 300 milligrams of venlafaxine. I struggle every single day, but my wife and family are the only reasons I stay on this planet. Story 9. I explored the causes of my depression and worked to eliminate those factors and people from my life. Although I still experience high-functioning depression, I can recognize the signs and take small actions that bring me joy to help improve my mood. Story 10. Admitting I needed help, I realized I wasn't coping as well as I pretended. I was scared of people discovering how bad things were, but I tried my best to manage. However, when I began asking those close to me for help, I was shocked to find out that I had not been hiding it well at all, and people truly came through for me in ways I never expected. Story 11. Day by day. However, I don't have the chemical imbalance associated with depression. My challenges stem from financial struggles due to being bullied out of a job, leading to significant debt. Therefore, my experience is more related to post-traumatic stress disorder. The good news is that I have a stable job and some reliable friends, so things are looking up. The challenge is simply lasting long enough to reach this stability. Story 12. Rage and spite. Without them, I go the way my father did, and that is not happening, so I hold on to spite and it carries me through. Story 13. Weed and psychedelics not participating in society. Unemployed and happy. I do not know what my future will hold, but I trust one will pivot and react accordingly. I have lots of time to read, research, work on myself, and appreciate life. Oh, and playing video games. I am pretty sure depression is a systemic reaction tied to cultural pressures and the loss of autonomy from these systems. Everything I value seems to be unsavory and against the grain of what society wants from me. If I am going to suffer from the systemic disdain of society, I might as well enjoy what I have and where I am while I am sane and able to do so. Retirement is not guaranteed, and I am not going to work tirelessly for a promise that is not assured. If and when I do submit to the dystopia, at least I will have good memories to keep me going while I work until the very end. Story 14. I am surprised that one of the top answers is not having hobbies and goals. These give your life purpose. If you are socially depressed, consider attending social events related to your hobbies to find a positive social circle. Story 15. Art. Brand new, Elliott Smith, Bright Eyes. Early Wes Anderson films including Rushmore, The Life Aquatic, and The Royal Tenenbaums. Followed by yoga, meditation, writing, playing music, and finding ways to get through the day. Story 16. 1. Words and Faith by My Grandma, Rest in Peace 1934 to 2021. About never giving up. A YouTube channel called Psychotic, specifically a video about the Tarantino method. I have not seen my son in 6 years due to a custody dispute. Story 17. This is what you do for just a week. 7 days. If you can force yourself to do day 1, you usually end up being able to do day 2 easier, and then 3, 4, and so on. You only have to commit for 7 days and then you can quit. You'll need to delete all social media and news apps for a week. Stay off streaming services and television. Engage in a technology fast except for what you must do that week for bill payments, work, and phone calls. Keep texting to a minimum. Start your morning at 6 a.m. with a 2-mile walk, even though you may not want to. Find a way to motivate yourself to get through the first 2 days. After that, you'll start to enjoy it. You need to overcome inertia. Make a phone call during your walk if someone you love is awake that early. Listen to upbeat music. Enjoy the sounds of birds, and take notice of things that catch your eye. Different flowers, bird calls, nests, animals, landscaping, plants, clouds, and whatever else you find interesting. When you get home, take a shower and dress in something other than pajamas. Style your hair. Write a to-do list for the week containing everything you've been avoiding. Include tasks you can cross off as you complete them, starting with the one you're avoiding the most. Find a way to perform a service once a day. This can include returning someone's grocery cart, sending a kind text, helping a neighbor, assisting a friend or relative, volunteering, picking up litter, writing a letter, calling an older relative, donating unneeded items, visiting animals at a shelter, or complimenting a stranger. Consider using a tool to create a healthy, protein-heavy meal plan featuring your favorite food choices, along with a detailed daily, weekly, and monthly cleaning chart. Set alarms for 7:30 a.m. for breakfast, 11 a.m. for lunch, and 5:30 p.m. for dinner. Do your best to eat around those times, adjusting for your job and schedule. Avoid processed foods this week. Instead, try something like, for breakfast, 2 eggs, 2 slices of whole wheat toast, Greek yogurt with berries and whipped cream, and 2 tablespoons of granola. For lunch, tuna, crab, or salmon cakes made from a pouch or can mixed with an egg, 2 tablespoons of flour, and a 1/4 cup of flavored breadcrumbs, seasoned with salt to taste. Shape and fry in a pan, served with 1/2 cup of fruit, 1/2 cup of cottage cheese, and 1 cup of your choice of vegetables, like baby carrots with ranch, hummus with sweet peppers, salad, cucumbers, etc. For dinner, 4 ounces of pork chop, chicken breast or chicken thigh, accompanied by a medium baked potato with sour cream, cheese, bacon bits and chives, and a cup of non-starchy vegetables, like broccoli, peas, salad, etc. Once you push through day 1 and maybe day 2, you'll start looking forward to it. It's only 1 week. You may feel bored, which is an essential key to happiness. You'll want to fill that boredom, and without technology, you'll remember that book you've been meaning to read, that friend you meant to see, or the hobby, sport, or craft you wanted to start. Set some goals, trips, or gatherings for the future to look forward to. Getting through the first day is crucial because you're ready to lift yourself out of depression. After 7 days, you may simply choose to continue. I'll do it with you because I've been mindlessly scrolling, being antisocial, and spending too much time in bed for the last 10 days after a difficult time. Story 18. Faith in Jesus kept me sane while I was on a feeding tube after a botched surgery. I was told I would be heavily medicated for the rest of my life. A skilled team of surgeons from the Cleveland Clinic did their best to fix me. Story 19. The main focus has been medication, weekly therapy, and a strong support system. Other beneficial practices include drinking more water, maintaining a consistent sleep schedule, getting more sunlight, and being more active. Story 20. It's not like it used to be. Now it comes monthly in waves. Knowing it will eventually pass helps. Story 21. I had to reinforce the life I wanted. If I remained in bed forever and isolated myself from everyone, I knew I wouldn't achieve that life. So, day by day, I worked harder to change my mindset while also actively helping myself. Story 22. Some days are better than others. I keep hoping that if I can find the right things to invest my effort in, I will feel good all the time. I am still searching. Story 23. Sometimes I think it is someone else's turn to be happy. Someone else is finding out their loved one is cancer-free, or someone else is seeing a friend for the first time in years. It is surprisingly effective. Story 24. My grandmother passed away this week. When I was going through a difficult time, she listened to me. She gave me space to cry and heal. I wouldn't be here without her. Sleep tight, Grandma. Story 25. Still trying to survive through it. Talking to my friends and family makes me happy for a few days. Sometimes I tire myself out with work so that I just pass out at night and don't think about anything. Watching positive videos online helps for a short moment. Going through old pictures and videos also helps and makes me smile for a while. Story 26. I almost died and was given a second chance to live. I didn't really survive it. I learned to embrace the odds and acknowledge the pain that comes with depression. We moved on from that phase. Story 27. I kept lifting weights even when I didn't want to. I invested all my money, not worrying about the outcome because if I lost everything, I could always just end it anyway. It worked out well. I am still here, now a homeowner, married, and expecting a baby. Story 28. I found that sufficient water, adequate oxygen, healthy eating, and walking outside made a significant difference in how I felt. I still felt depressed but not helpless or overwhelmed by my emotions. Eventually, I added some gratitude exercises, yoga, and reevaluating my perspective, which also helped. Therapy could have been beneficial, but it costs money. Story 29. I told myself that I was the only person who could determine how I feel. Thinking about all the positive aspects and being thankful truly uplifted me. Story 30. I am still in the middle of the battle. I will let you know if I make it, and if I don't, well, Story 31. I told myself that I was such a failure that even if I tried to leave, I wouldn't have done it correctly and would end up paralyzing myself instead, thereby being forced to live under my parents' control forever. It worked until I finally got my act together out of sheer good luck and met my friends who encouraged me to move out. Story 32. I do not have chronic depression, but when something negative happens in life, I feel depressed about it. I work through it, process what is happening, and eventually it passes. Story 33. Just push through the hard days and remind yourself that you will feel better in the morning. I also try to engage in self-care activities, even when I really don't want to. Exercise, journal, meditate, eat healthy, and so on. I was stuck in a slump for the last few months, but I finally feel like I'm seeing the light. Taking care of myself has definitely helped, I think. Story 34. Going to a therapist and then a psychiatrist to get antidepressants. Escitalopram 20 milligrams and bupropion 300 XL. I imagine my emotions as a series of deep valleys and hill-like peaks. Escitalopram decreases the amplitude, while bupropion raises the y-intercept. I still experience ups and downs, but most importantly, I feel more stable. Story 35. Accept that despite certain things in life you just can't change, there is always the option for you to change. Story 36. Apathy. After a certain point, you forget what happiness felt like and start defining your manic and functional depression days as happiness, which makes it harder to feel sorry for yourself. The more challenging question is how I survived anxiety for so long. The answer is that some very good friends repeatedly helped me out of my shell when it got really bad. Things improved, though it involved a lot of pain and hardship. I remembered what true happiness felt like, and I have been experiencing it more frequently. The anxiety turned out to be chemical and decreased by about 90% overnight when I resolved a hormonal issue. Story 37. I was too depressed to consider harming myself. I simply waited until my mind was tired of inflicting pain on me. It is better now. Miracles still happen. It would have been a pity to die that early and not witness them. Story 38. I didn't. My plan to end my life failed. I woke up thinking I was in the afterlife, and I refused to live in a hell of my own making. Amazingly, that was the turning point. I am now on proper medication and therapy, and I have truly changed who I am. I've learned to give grace to others, but especially to myself. Story 39. By making decisions that benefit me and taking an active stance about my feelings, I learned that my thoughts tend to be circular, and negative thoughts often occupy my mind more than positive ones. This reflects my tendency to view happiness as fleeting. I strive to develop a habit of transforming the thoughts or images in my mind back into reality. I remind myself to breathe deeply and observe what is in front of me. Story 40. Despite my challenges, I am not letting my depression defeat me. I hold on to the hope that tomorrow will be a better day. The future is full of endless possibilities, and I want to be here to see and experience them. Story 41. Rage-fueled workout sessions followed by a cold plunge every day. I was miserable, so I might as well make myself suffer more. Story 42. After taking enough pills to overdose multiple times in your life, you start to give up on giving up. That, along with the song Parabola by Tool, has shaped my perspective. I still feel depressed, but I believe I have more control over it now, if that makes any sense. Feelings of sadness do not linger for as long as they used to. Story 43. Allowing myself to be a little wild and lost, misbehaving a bit, reshuffling the deck of cards that is my mind. Story 44. You cannot heal in the same place where you became ill. That is the only way I made it through. You must distance yourself from the people and places that you know are only contributing to your suffering, no matter how comfortable you may feel in that situation. Story 45. Make an effort to address one problem at a time, or it may worsen. Learning to think differently and holding myself accountable took time and investment, but like everything, the more you work at it, the easier it becomes. Story 46. I have major depressive disorder. That means I know it's only a matter of time before my next depressive episode. The way I deal with these slumps is to do the opposite of what my depression tells me. If it tells me that my friends, partner, or family hate me, I reach out to do something with them and let them know I'm in a depressive episode. If my depression tells me I don't have energy and need to stay in bed, I make myself go outside. I also repeat a paraphrased quote from Brandon Sanderson's book, Rhythm of War. I can't promise you that all your days will be sunshine and happiness, but I can promise that when you are cold and alone, you will be warm again. That is an entirely different promise. When I'm in the depths of depression, thinking about how I could end things, I know that I will be warm again. Knowing that, not just believing it, has kept me going. I also work with a therapist, take medication, work out, and do yoga. Combined, they are my support system. I know my support system may falter, but I also know I will rebuild it and that I will be warm again. Story 47. The do-gooders in the emergency room realize it looks good on their performance evaluation, I have to guess. But really? I can forgive, but I can't forget. Story 48. Thinking about the alternative, I would rather fight every day living with depression than allow it to control me and lead to my demise. It is a constant battle, and I don't think it will ever truly go away. But I remain hopeful that it will become easier to handle as I get older. I think about all the experiences I have yet to embrace and how I would miss out on so much if I were to give up too soon. I hope you can find peace and fulfillment, not just to the original poster, but to anyone who comes across this message. Story 49. Medication, talk therapy, psychiatric care, and daily efforts to remind myself that I am worthy of this life. Story 50. Escapism involves reading many books and playing numerous video games. The less time I spend being myself, the better. Story 51. I realize that while people are praying for years to get what they want, I pray and receive it in a much shorter time. Who cares about anything when God blesses you like that? Story 52. I was constantly diagnosed. My parents would always take me to a psychiatrist and psychologist, and they would often say I had extreme clinical depression and anxiety. I never took any prescribed medication, but I struggled with alcoholism for 20 years. I have been sober for 2 years, and what I've realized is that doing simple things like exercise, eating healthy, getting regular sleep, meditating, helping others, and taking an honest look at myself has been crucial. Understanding who I am as a person, accepting my flaws, and working on myself with grace is important. It may seem simple, but it requires commitment. The amount of effort you put in determines how good you feel. Story 53. Remembering something my therapist said a while ago. Sometimes it's day by day, and sometimes it's minute by minute. Get through this one more minute. Some days were challenging, and it was simply get through this 1 minute. 1 more minute, 1 more hour, 1 more day. I can't promise it'll get better, but it will be different than now. Story 54. Prayer. I had to shift from a mindset of everything is awful and I am not capable, to focusing on the good things more than the bad. Realizing that with God all things are possible and my struggles are happening for me. When I truly let go and let God, I found so much more peace and was able to shine my light again. Story 55. I found something to look forward to. I always have something to get excited about. Whether it's a new video game, movie, TV show, anime, or book, I seek anything that keeps me motivated and moving forward. Story 56. I am still surviving, despite experiencing my worst times when I attempted to take my life several times and was hospitalized multiple times. It was truly my friends who kept me alive. It may sound cheesy, but their care and willingness to check on me, make me laugh, and provide a shoulder to cry on helped immensely. I genuinely don't know where I would be today without them. They remain my best friends. Story 57. Hitting rock bottom was oddly transformative. I had a really abusive relationship that ended horribly, but somehow that experience helped me. I am starting to recover and doing things I thought I needed someone to do, like attending concerts and traveling. I ended up engaging in some self-love practices and thoughtful activities, which helped me reshape my mindset. The final push that helped me transition from recovering to thriving was going on a cruise where I spent a lot of time in the hot tub. I used to hate my body, and during an excursion, we had a rough truck ride to the beach. I felt like I was going to die, which broke something in my brain. I realized I had to do better. Since then, I have lost over 40 pounds, identified as aromantic asexual, and embraced who I am. I have a friend group that I care about and trust. So, I guess the short answer would be to fight like hell and take care of yourself. A 10-minute run can do more for you than you expect. Story 58. At different times, I used medication, therapy, and exercise, and made the decision to prioritize doing good things for myself instead of focusing on my inability to rely on others in my life. Story 59. I don't know how that will sound, but by working out, if you have a really healthy body, your mentality will find a way to improve. Story 60. 1 day at a time. A support system definitely helps, along with a list of things to keep me motivated. If you are experiencing depression, write down a list of goals you have successfully achieved. Then create a list of your future goals. I have found that having things to work toward helps keep depression at bay. Story 61. I forgot. In all seriousness, though, part of it was with help, but a lot of it was from the fact that despite everything, I love the world too much to leave it. Also, antidepressants are quite effective as well. Story 62. Therapy, medication, hospitalization once, and extensive therapy and medication. Additionally, a significant amount of cannabis. Story 63. You must take action. Focus on meditation, exercise, and diet. Be intentional with your time. You will not improve by passively scrolling through social media. Also, be kind to yourself. Sometimes you can only accomplish one small task per day. Celebrate that and anything you can do with a positive intention. It is a journey that will not progress on its own, nor will it happen quickly. I write this as a reminder for myself as well as advice for others. I know it to be true. Story 64. I took mushrooms, lost my mind during a bad trip, and returned feeling more grateful. However, be cautious. You might experience hallucinogen persisting perception disorder. Story 65. Stay active. Visit family and friends regularly. Work out. Find a couple of hobbies. It always helps when one of the hobbies is a physical activity and the other is a side hustle. Doesn't have to be, but it's always nice. Sleep well. Eat well. Go to therapy to understand what bothers you, and the therapist can help you untangle that web over time. To be honest, you can do all of this and still have days when you feel down. Just remember that it's normal and find something that makes you happy. Life is a marathon. Story 66. Having a support system is important. Talking things out and having someone who will listen to you is a significant help. Medication can also play a role. Story 67. Drugs. My doctor prescribed me Lexapro, and I loved it. I experienced very minimal side effects after the first month. Story 68. I randomly bump into people I've known for a long time, and it reminds me that we're all just a big family. There are so many people who care. Feeling down is a temporary state. Feeling good requires some energy, but it's worth it. Story 69. I started eating better, quit alcohol, became more active, and worked out regularly. I drink more water with electrolytes, no longer eat fast food, and take more vitamins. I've also reduced my social media usage and do more outdoor activities in the sun. I'm doing my best to avoid political discussions and people who don't make an effort to communicate with me. There's definitely been a complete turnaround in my mood, mental health, and physical health. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. It's a slow process, but worth it. In my opinion, everything is designed to make you spend money and keep you feeling down. You must stand up and fight for your well-being. Story 70. I am managing depression, which I have experienced since childhood, as it comes in waves. It affected me the most 2 years after my first child. I sought therapy and learned helpful techniques. I believe my depression is linked to burnout, so when I notice the typical signs, I take magnesium glycinate and go to sleep. I still have challenging days, but I am confident I will get through them as I always have. Story 71. Therapy and the appropriate medication have been beneficial for me. The challenging aspect is discovering the medication that works best for you. Story 72. I still fight with it every day of my life. It's been over 15 years now. I have made it this far by finding something to cling to that gives me purpose. For me, a lot of it is taking care of my cat. This cat has been around for more than 10 years. Even at my worst, I look over and realize this cat needs me. Story 73. I practice self-talk like a caring parent, which includes giving myself plenty of grace. High-intensity interval training workouts with weights are essential. I eat foods that make me feel good, including pizza and cheesecake. I engage in journaling and painting. I enjoy lots of cuddling with my dog. Ultimately, I remind myself that I am having a human experience, and it is important to pause all responsibilities to focus on my needs and self-care. Additionally, I need to mention a very important aspect: therapy. If I can't get an appointment, I go straight to ChatGPT. I have experienced many wonderful reframes and breakthroughs with ChatGPT. Story 74. Just lie on the ground in the middle of the room for a while. Eventually, you will either starve to death or get up. Discomfort can help you realize the beauty of comfort. Discomfort includes hunger, but also running, exercise, and long-distance endeavors like cycling. These activities offer lasting benefits if you can fit them in during your more energetic times. Story 75. It feels like it never goes away. It gets better for a while and then returns, sometimes even worse. Story 76. I had to leave the house with my partner and children. It's not much of an escape, and I feel deeply saddened about leaving my children. However, most days I no longer want to die. Story 77. Telling myself everything will be okay, even when it's not, gives me a sense of hope and control. Story 78. Therapy workbooks for my condition. Engaging in physical exercise to find peace with myself. Enjoying movies, television shows, books, and music, and attending as many live performances as possible to experience those delightful endorphin releases. Story 79. Years of therapy and self-discovery. I was deeply unhappy with my body, even though nothing was actually wrong with it. I used to look in the mirror and say or think horrible things about myself. I stopped that. It's important not to speak negatively about yourself. If you don't want to think something nice about your appearance, it's better not to think about it at all. Also, avoid starting the day with negative thoughts. I know it's hard and definitely takes a lot of practice. If you wake up and the first thing you think is, I am so tired, I don't want to do this, today is going to be horrible, that sets the mood for the entire day. Story 80. Well, don't take my advice, but when my dad went manic and tried to take his own life a week before my birthday, I was supposed to visit him. I started smoking marijuana, but don't take this advice. Story 81. Usually it's a daily process for me. If I can have about 3 hours to myself, I can typically find a solution within 12 hours. Story 82. I cannot say I am completely out of the woods yet, but it has been better lately. Honestly, I had no choice but to keep moving forward and hope it would improve, and it has. Story 83. I go through it every single day. The severity level just changes depending on what is happening. Story 84. I am still fighting it. The challenging aspect of clinical depression is that it never truly goes away. You take it day by day and battle by battle. Having people around you who love you and help you win those battles is a significant blessing. Story 85. Follow the light. As in anything, literally anything that gets you somewhat excited. New soap? Cool. New recipe? Even better. Trying out art or an instrument? Great. Going out to a nature trail you've never been to or have visited 200 times? Why not? Story 86. I enjoy countering pain with pain. I obtained a gym membership. The mental clarity I experienced there was sufficient to overcome it. Story 87. Honestly, taking frequent walks outside in nature and exercising helps manage it greatly, even though it doesn't completely eliminate it. Story 88. I just keep going. It helped me create goals, both big and small. I need to have things I can hold myself accountable for and people in my life whom I don't want to let down. I try to focus on the little things most of the time, on small moments that make it seem like life is all right. For the most part, I believe it is now. My depression hasn't gone away, nor will it ever. But with treatment, it has become much easier to live with. Story 89. I think I tricked myself into believing I wasn't depressed for a long time. I removed myself from toxic people and quit drinking. I write, read, exercise regularly, eat healthier than I used to, and get decent sleep. I remind myself that I am currently feeling depressed, but I am not defined by it. I also try to remember not to stress about things I cannot control. Things will work out in time. I hope this helps. Story 90. In survival mode, hoping that someday there will be light at the end of the tunnel. The good thing is that many of us experience depression due to circumstances that can be changed. Story 91. Sometimes it happens hour by hour. If it gets really bad and the thoughts persist, I set a future date to address the pain, if you understand what I mean. When that day arrives, I often no longer feel the same way. It's difficult, but it helps me. Story 92. You keep going and try not to think about it. When you can delay it long enough, you find something that makes you want to live. Just keep swimming. Story 93. Just feel so depressed that you lack the energy or willpower to do anything that could threaten your survival. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.